Welcome back to The Weekend Show. You're not watching the lifestyle segment of The Weekend Show. Just after the headlines, you saw some of the names on the screen of people who have lost their lives in recent times. I always remember the name Chijoke, I remember Slick, I remember all the names which you can see on your screen. These are people who died as a result of police brutality against the people of Nigeria. On The Weekend Show, we try to find way forward and solutions, but also deal with the issues as it happens. We just want to say we're here for them, for everybody who has lost their life over the last couple of weeks, and even in the past before this happened. All of this is because the people are speaking out for you. On The Weekend Show today, I have with me Nafisa Atiku. She's a lawyer and author, but most interestingly, I found out that you were at the Abuja protests.
Yes.
I
Yes,
also found out that you wrote an article about what has been going on.
Yes.
And so about 2 weeks ago, it started from a sit-out at the Lagos State Governor's office.
Yes.
Then there was some shooting in Delta State. And then it led for a peaceful call asking to end SARS.
Yes.
Now, within that time, while the protests were still peaceful, at least 12 people lost their lives.
Yes.
And that's why the name Jimo Isiaq is in everybody's head.
Yes.
And so the president had come out and said, you know what, you've given your 5 for 5, we accept it, and SARS has been disbanded.
Yes.
Then the police, the IG of police, a couple of days later declared that they will now have a new unit called SWAT. And at this point, he had also said the old members wouldn't be brought in. So that's a background to what had happened.
Yeah.
However, it would be unfair to say something didn't happen on the 20th of October 2020, on Tuesday.
Yeah.
There were shootings in Lagos at the
Yes.
toll gates. And this can be confirmed because the governor of Lagos State, as of 4 a.m. Wednesday morning, posted a tweet where he went to the hospital to visit people who were injured.
Yes.
So that's the background, and that's him admitting that something happened
Yes,
on
definitely.
that day. But I would like to hear from you, from the NSAS protest till now, what exactly is going on? What's your take on what's going on?
Well, to be honest, first thing, I think that there's a trust deficit between the government and the Nigerian people, and the government has that blame to carry, to be honest. I was at the NSAS protest in Abuja here, and you come out and you say, oh, SARS has been disbanded, we're going to create a new division called SWAT. How do you do that? And then you tell your police force to stand down and allow peaceful protesters to still make their demand. How do you do that? And then these people, we come out to peacefully protest. Let me put it on record here that no one of the protesters were violent. We did not carry any sticks, any stones, any guns, no nothing. But the police force still felt it was important, or it was permissible, or somehow permissible in a democratic sense to shoot at peaceful protesters, to shoot tear gas at them, to slash their tires, to manhandle some of them, because that's what they did, right, to us in front of the police force. And it's not like as if they were shooting to disperse, because they chased us all the way down to the expressway. You know, I know people that went again the following day and they gathered her, they beat her up, they smashed her phones, and you say you are trying to end police brutality. Is it that your men are not listening to you, or you simply have no control over the people, do you understand, that you supposedly command? You cannot tell us that you heard our demands and your policemen are still out there beating people, beating peaceful protesters in a democratic nation. It's not permissible, it's not allowed. In a democracy, it doesn't work like that. Unless you are telling us that we're not in a democratic government, that we're probably in a military regime, then I'll probably believe you. Because it doesn't happen anywhere in the world where peaceful protesters will come out. We didn't rob anybody. Do you understand? No shops were burgled. And you still find it okay to beat them.
So the president gave a speech on about 2 nights ago.
Yes, 2 nights
and
ago.
in that speech, because I spent last night reading and rereading that speech, and
that speech,
he acknowledged lives lost. He also acknowledged that the right to protest is a fundamental human right in Section 40, which is important that he did. However, there was no mention of the incident on Tuesday in Lekki, the shootings in Lekki. Now, the vice president had come out to issue a statement, and he also met with the US government where this issue was discussed. So we weren't dreaming. But the people of Nigeria were still, there were mixed reactions. What was your reaction to the president's speech? Do you think it brought back that hope?
No, to be honest, it was a hopeless speech. and I'm sure a lot of Nigerians agree with me, it didn't seem like there was any accountability. Okay, you have acknowledged, that in fact, he didn't really, to be honest, he didn't really come out and say, you know what, we acknowledge what happened at the Lekki toll gate and there was a massacre. And we're going to try as much as possible to be accountable about it and fish out the people who are responsible for this and find out what really happened. There was no mention of that in that speech. It was almost like as if he was avoiding it or trying to erase it or give Nigerians the impression that, you know what, this didn't just really happen. We regret the loss of lives, but we're not going to mention this particular incident.
So there's been reports saying that the president, that it's still being investigated, which is why he didn't say anything about it. But you spoke about trust deficit.
Yeah.
Young people have released several statements. So many people have gone out to say, you know what, everybody stay in your house.
Yes.
Let's be peaceful.
Yes.
So we don't want the calls for violence and all whatnot. Yeah. Unfortunately, hoodlums and thugs came out and they've attacked and vandalized properties where Nigerians, the average citizens, had their businesses attacked and vandalized, yes, houses burnt, and that's extremely unfortunate, yes, which also led to loss of lives and property. People's mental health is in shambles generally. What do you think can and should be done to regain the trust and rebuild the peace in the land at the moment?
Regaining trust. We need to find out what happened at the Lekki toll gate massacre. That's how you gain our trust. Write a statement and tell us that you are investigating what happened, and we want to see an answer within 24 hours. Because, to be honest, this government has shown that when they really want to do something in their own self-interest, they will do it immediately. They will find the answers. During this entire protest, they were finding and blocking accounts of people that were supporting the NSAS protest movement from to the Feminist Coalition, finding accounts blocking it. But I find it very awkward that you have not found the accounts of the Boko Haram insurgents in over how many years, and they are still flying around, the north, wreaking havoc.
Okay, Nafisa, let me bring another guest in. Mercy Abang, who is a journalist and a writer, and she has been following this closely. She's joining us via Skype. Hello, Mercy. Good morning.
Hello, Andy. Please be here.
Great. I'll go straight into it. I noticed for the last couple of months, you've had a couple of Instagram Live sessions where you've spoken to Nigerians, you've spoken to young Nigerians, and you have been active in having these conversations on where we are and what's going on. But I'd like to hear from you because you have pretty much collated the thoughts of several Nigerians on this issue. The NSAS protest happened. The Lagos shootings is a reality. The details we're still finding out. But what's your take on what has been going on in the last 2 weeks in Nigeria?
I'll start with the fact that I am so proud of a generation of young people that had to ask government to put an end to police brutality, which is the right thing to do, even in an autocratic or a military regime, not to talk of a democracy that Nigeria practices, perhaps in paper. For the last 2 weeks, NSAS protesters have conducted themselves, organized, mobilized, raised funds. I never knew that within 2 weeks that young people can start contributing from 1,000 naira to 10,000 naira and making up more than 100 million and above, just to legitimately say, we want a better police force. Beyond getting a better police force, those people that were arrested by the same police were bailed. They had to deploy lawyers. It was an entire level of coordination that I have never in my life imagined. But it also shows that the young people of Nigeria want a better country for themselves. The young people of Nigeria are organized. The young people of Nigeria are well put. And I am really, really proud of this generation of these people. And I mean everybody that had something to do, from the guy who sent 200 naira to the one who is a pro bono lawyer in a remote area that his name has never been mentioned, and to the guys that kept picking up the trash at every protest ground. I want to say thank you to everybody. Beyond that, let's take it a step back. Young people sang to the Nigerian national anthem. Young people waved the flag, and they were shot at in Lekki. And the Nigerian government is looking at us in the eye and saying, this is a lie, this is fake news, this is false. There is no level of insult that is beyond that. There's no level of disrespect to the Nigerian flag, to the Nigerian state as an entity that is beyond that. It is an embarrassment, to say the least. The Nigerian army is saying that nobody went down to Lekki to shoot at protesters. Literally, people were live streaming events. We watched it. I moved from Godson 45 to DJ Suite, and I kept moving. I kept asking myself, is this a war? Even in a war situation, why should you shoot at people that held the Nigerian flag, their pride? They sang to the anthem. For me, this is a dent on the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration.
Just a dent.
Forever and ever, and nothing is going to change that. This is a dent. And guess what? The president had a live broadcast. Of course, after everybody had said, please, can you talk to your people? And there was no mention of what happened in Lekki. They're not going to kill our spirit. Because when President Muhammadu Buhari was in this same age group, he had a generation of people that wanted power. He had a generation of people that were literally at the very top of their career path. What these young people are only saying is, we want an end to police brutality. And they're being brutalized. How do we describe the Nigerian state?
Mercy, let me interrupt you.
How do you explain it for a 3-year-old to understand what has gone on?
Mercy, let me interrupt you. We had these calls for about 12 days straight, and I understand the emotions. Nafisa in the studio also has that, and I have to say, yes, the opinions being shared are the opinions of the guests and do not reflect the opinions of African Independent Television and The Weekend Show, but it's important that we speak to these occurrences. There's been an evolution, which we found out in the last couple of days, especially on social media, of a lot of misinformation and a lot of people trying to stoke tribal and religious tensions. This personally is worrying, and generally it's a problem. What's going on in that regard, and how can we fix it? Because up till yesterday, buildings were being attacked, people were still being attacked on the streets, and now by hoodlums. Now, I wouldn't call them protesters, but hoodlums and thugs went on a rampage, which led to a curfew and all of that. What do you have to say about the misinformation, and how can we fix that? Because that has become a big problem, which is increasing the trust deficit, which we are constantly hearing about.
There's a deliberate campaign to share wrong information, especially images of what happened that night. Yeah. And the same persons that are into this campaign are the ones that are out to delegitimize the fact that people were shot at in Lekki. We need to get that clear before we move forward. I did a thread yesterday, I think a 5-tweet post on Twitter, where I tried to explain the intentional misinformation campaign. Because when the army came out to say there's a cyber warfare going on, it's simply what it is. Then you start questioning, so you start questioning, so they put up misinformed images and come out to say this didn't really, in reality, did not happen. And this is where I feel like Nigerian journalists need to be better trained to understand geo-tracking of events and capture the right data. That way, we need to start putting metadata to every image that is being put out. That way, it captures the venue where you took the picture, the time, the date, and the actual day it happened. That way, you don't come out, you don't fall into the trap where an image with a scene of someone wrapped with the Nigerian flag is littering all over the space, and most media houses are carrying it. I also do not want to blame the average Nigerian journalist, but this is the era where we are now, and we all need to be responsible enough to what we put out. I've had times where government officials will intentionally issue a statement, a press statement that is false. When Dapchi girls happened, the Nigerian military issued a statement and said the girls had been rescued, even when they had not been rescued. It was when the parents started saying, we are not seeing our daughters, they came back and said, oh, it was a mistake. So when government agencies intentionally that are expected to send you information are sending out fake news, false news, to even journalists to carry as an authentic story. Where do we go from there? So now it's now the responsibility of every journalist, every newsroom, every editor is to go to go a step further, to speak to eyewitness. So if you say that girls have been rescued, let's talk about the parents of the girls. Have you seen your daughters? Have you seen your kids? You know, this is where the victim has to be at the forefront of the conversation, and which is why the statement by the Nigerian government discrediting the actual event that happened in Lekki is very disingenuous. It is intended to misinform, because people, we as a matter of fact, all of us that joined the live stream of that event that day were eyewitness to the event that happened. Beyond the fact that the people that had their gadgets live streaming themselves. And these people have come out to say, this is what happened. They were shooting at us. We were singing the national anthem. We were waving the flag.
Mercy, I must
supposed to believe what happened that night?
Mercy, I must admit that it's quite sad what happened, and acknowledge that these are legitimate concerns, and I do hope that they should be looked into. But you've not touched on my point on hoodlums and thugs who have now gone on a rampage. It's also very worrying and worrisome. What can be done about that? Because that is a big problem where if people thought that the End SARS protest had no leadership and it was quite uncoordinated or coordinated, in this case, there's no control at all. What should be done at this point, Mercy?
Andy, for 2 weeks, young people stepped out to say, we want an end to police brutality. There was no fight anywhere. There was coordination, and I said that earlier on. But guess what happened? Political elites started funding thugs. Yes, they did. They started funding thugs and moving them in their vehicles, in trucks, paying them 500 naira to kill Nigerians. That is why the Nigerian elite, the average Nigerian elite, is a very. I don't want to get emotional.
You could take a second, Mercy. I understand.
But I feel like we have a state that does not care about our legitimate concerns. So let's not talk about those talks, because those talks are not the product of NSAS. Yeah. They are the product of Nigerian political class, and we need to call it what it is. NSAS protesters did not fund those talks. NSAS protesters did not tell them to go to the High Court in Lagos to go and burn it down. NSAS in Lagos did not tell them to go to the High Court and start looking for documents. They took advantage of the NSAS protest to do what they want to do, and they did what they wanted to do.
How can we fix this message?
In all sincerity, I feel like even the people that they've been using are as much victims as we are.
Mercy, what's the solution? How can we fix this?
We cannot burn down our cities. We cannot burn down our cities. We cannot burn down, build our cities. So if you're being paid 500 naira to go and kill, to go and burn down buildings, you're burning down your city. So you should stop it. But guess what? They have weaponized poverty. How can you weaponize poverty to a point where somebody has to be moved in a truck from Kano to Abuja to kill? 500 naira. That is how much they have weaponized poverty. Because I am not saying it because I cooked up this fact. The guy that was picked up himself said it, that they paid him 500 naira and moved him in a truck. And they were moving around with machete from Aso Drive to the third arm zone. The third arm zone is the seat of power in Nigeria. How can you tell me that the intelligence agencies did not know that people were being moved in trucks into Abuja to kill, to create havoc? Beyond Abuja, in most of the southwestern states that we have seen so far, it shows that, these people are intentionally out to destroy the city and put the blame on.
Okay, Mercy, I'll come back to you. Let me go to Nafisa. Emotions are high, but one thing is important. We need to go back to a place of peace. It's our duty, the same way we spoke up against the End SARS and police brutality, to find a way to fix the situation. You mentioned trust deficit. Mercy mentioned that. A lot of people have said this. The government has said, who can we speak to? Let's try to have these conversations and see how we can bridge a gap. but with a leaderless protest and a movement which speaks to it being a call from and of the people. We need to put an end to the violence, to the weaponization of poverty, like Messi has said. And Messi is a journalist, so those are hard takes as a journalist who has observed this. And I saw you nodding and agreeing. These people on the streets, some of these people have moved from one city to the other, may not go back. But yes, they were thugs. I wouldn't say I know who sponsored them because I'm just here to ask the questions. But the real problem is most of them are still doing what they are doing. How can we fix this? We need to find a way forward. And the same way we're vocal about the problems, which I understand, how can we find a solution to this?
So on the issues of the hoodlums and the thugs, you know, it's like when you give the devil a foothold, he takes the whole acre. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing here. I don't disagree with Mercy in what she's saying that the political elite sponsored thugs, because it's actually true. You know, at this protest, you would see, at a point in time, the police stopped, you know, coming to harm protesters. They allowed them. But what they would do is that they would then allow the thugs to beat up the protesters and they would stand back. So definitely these thugs came from somewhere. And they know, I don't know where they came from, but I know they came from the political elite, because we started having reports that one House of Reps, one senator is sponsoring one, do you understand, thugs to come in, they are paying them 1,500, 2,000, even 500, as Mercy said. And it's really, really unfortunate that the creation that they have now put to solve their problem is now, they are now destroying the institutions and the apparatus of the state. At this point in time, it is left for the government to then use their own hands and their own security to curtail the thugs that they have put out on the streets. And on a more sustainable approach, you know, being in the center of this, and many youth groups and people saying that how can we approach this in a more sustainable manner that would lead us to have lasting change in 2023? Is grassroots sensitization and beginning to interact with these people, because it should be, to be honest, it's a weaponization of poverty. They don't know any other life than this. There needs to be some sort of rehabilitation and bridging the gap between that class of society, and because, you know what, if this country breaks down, the poor are not going to eat the rich, because the rich will put the children and take off out of the country. The poor are going to eat the middle class. The middle class can't afford to have private jets and, you know, jet out of the country. We need to, a lot of young people have been saying that, you know, we need to find a way in which we can relate to these people to show that, look, what these politicians are showing you and giving you is not a life at all.
But do we have to wait till elections before we sensitize the poor? And I hate to say that, but at this point, it's been reported that we're one of the poor, we have one of the highest number of poor people in the world. So there are people who are poor. And so in most cases, this sensitization waits till the year of election or a year before election. And if and since the movement of NSAS was this strong, vocal and powerful, how can that be used to sensitize the people? Like both guests, you and Mercy, have said, these people, if anything happens, is the average Nigerians, they will still attack. Businesses have been vandalized, and most of these businesses are owned by regular Nigerians. And so everybody has literally gone through with this this last week.
It has touched everyone.
And so, as opposed to waiting 1 year, how do we start this sensitization? Like Mercy was just saying, it's not worth 500 naira, it's not 1,000, it's not worth 1,500. And it's a message we expect the people on the streets to hear. What will you tell young Nigerians in seeking for accountability and also holding young people responsible and accountable as well?
Okay, first things first, we are not going to wait till 1 year, you know, towards to the elections to start the grassroots sensitization. We are starting it right now. You know, we're just coming off fresh from one campaign, and everyone is just trying to restock emotionally, mentally, and re-strategize for the years and the next steps that we need to take. It's been, I just lost train of my thought, but we're not going to wait until that time. We are literally going to start now. A lot of young groups have basically been saying, oh, we need to, you know, get into the community, start doing more community development projects, start bringing down the constitution into very easy, digestible ways into the local languages, Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, so that they can understand not just the verbose language of the law and the constitution. Because I'm sure a lot of people on the street don't even know what the average constitution says. So we are trying to bring that down to the communities because they are the ones that matter. We cannot afford to live in glass houses and not care about the people that exist on the street. It's not enough you have a comfortable house, but what about the person on the street or the person next door? Poverty is not anybody's birthright. Really, to be honest, it is the birthright of every human being to live with dignity. What this NSAS, see, NSAS was not just about NSAS. And that's why I think every young person realized, and what the political elites realized, that is why they are that's why they fought so much against it, and why they are still fighting so much against it, but they will not succeed. NSAS was basically about ensuring good governance, putting a stop to bad governance in this country. Look at what we were able to do with the resources that we gathered. 147 million naira was gathered from these donations, and we have not even used, I don't think we've spent up to about 100 million across 26 states, and the impact was felt. And we kept on asking ourselves, what have they been doing with the billions of naira that have been put down in constitution? The other day, last week on Monday, Buhari signed approval for 1.6 billion to be used as the development of an anti-corruption website. Really? Really, 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 really. It wasn't just about NSAS. It was literally the scales falling down from the eyes of young people. And you know what? They tasted power for the first time. Before that protest, before the NSAS protest, the average Nigerian will ask on the street, how do you feel about this country? How do you feel about your capacity to make a change? They will tell you that they feel hopeless and helpless. That if they go out for protest, they will shoot them, they will beat them. Yes, we went for the protest, we were shot at, we were beaten. But you know what? The average Nigerian has now experience the amount, the capacity, the ability, the power to make change. Because like it or not, we shook this government in a way they've never ever experienced before. They now understood the threat and the power of the young people and what we carry. I believe that they've seen it.
Okay, let me see if Mercy, do we still have Mercy with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, Mercy, just because of time, what's your final word? A lot of people I see online have been talking about how depleted and deflated they have been. The president has said, you know what, you made your demands and we've accepted it. Your final words, what's the way forward, especially for young Nigerians?
I like the fact that you ended it with especially for young Nigerians, because that's the area I'm interested in.
Yeah.
A generation of young people have never seen anything different. They've never seen a better educational system. They've never gotten anything better. So I don't think asking that police stop killing them is too much. And I think for the Nigerian police force, NSAS is not against you. NSAS is for you. Yes. Because when there's reform, you will pay your better pay. When there's reform, you don't have to buy your uniform yourself. When there's reform, you know, the reform is also so you're an integral part of the reforms. For the young people, I would say that there's been no better time to have asked for this, and it is within your legitimate right. Don't let anyone guilt trip you for the position you've taken in the NSAS. For those that tweeted, for those that Facebook, for those that left their houses to march, you did great. You did great. And we have to keep asking, we have to keep demanding, because that is the only time we can fix our country. Nigeria is the only country we've got. So we cannot burn Nigeria down. We have to build Nigeria. The men of 66 are gone. We have to build Nigeria. But they are going to take advantage of the fact that there are 100 million extremely poor people out there. And they are going to pay them 100 naira to come and kill us. They're going to pay them 100 naira to come and harm us. But we have to keep legitimately asking for what we want. My concern, however, is that the number of people that are moved in trucks to Abuja, if they do not leave Abuja, the Abuja residents are going to be in trouble. Because there's going to be much more carjacking, thefts that residents are going to start dealing with. But this is how the political class have intentionally destroyed almost every system within the Nigerian space. Mm-hmm. When people are protesting, they are funding another protest group to counter that protest. That's what we're seeing, and that is scary, because you're using poor people against the Nigerian people, and these same poor people are understanding and knowing what you're doing. The day they come for you, please do not blame people that ask for legitimacy. Do not blame people. Nigerians that are asking for answers do not even have a machete. They do not have sticks. All they had was a mobile phone and their
Food. And milk for tear gas.
government listens. But the only way government listens in Nigeria is to crack down. And we have seen a crackdown that even the world is shocked. People are asking, how can you be shot at when you're singing the national anthem? It is forbidden. It is unheard of. That is what should stick to the conscience of those that send soldiers to shoot the Nigerian people.
Thank you very much, Mercy Abang. Mercy Abang is a journalist, a writer, and a strategist who joined us virtually. And also, Nafisa, you're a lawyer and an author.
Yes.
Dear Nigerians, and this isn't a speech, our national anthem says one nation bound in freedom, peace, and unity. Not one without the other, not freedom without peace and unity, not peace without freedom and unity. This is a call to people in government, in politics, and young people to be accountable. Everybody deserves to live. And so we're calling out to people who are out vandalizing property to stop, because you're affecting every single person. We're calling on young Nigerians that while they ask government to remain accountable to the people, we should also check misinformation. We're calling on everybody to watch and verify whatever stories they post. But most importantly, we need every Nigerian to know that this country is our own country. We must keep on the good fight, but keep it on peacefully. Government is for the people, by the people, and it should be that way. Don't go away. We have more coming to you on The Weekend Show. My name is Andy Madaki.